Episode 7. The wall is part of the artwork. When we walk into a gallery, we usually look at the paintings. We look at the colors, the figures, the brushwork, the composition, the subject. But there is something else we often forget to look at. The wall. The wall may seem like nothing more than a background, but it can completely change how we experience a painting. Imagine the same painting displayed on a bright white wall. Now imagine it on a dark gray wall. Then imagine it on a deep blue wall. The painting hasn't changed, but your experience of it has. This is because artwork doesn't exist in isolation. It exists in a space, and that space becomes part of the viewing experience. One of the first decisions when preparing an exhibition is the color of the walls. White is common. It is neutral. It allows many different types of artwork to be displayed together. But white isn't always the best choice. A dark wall can make certain paintings appear more dramatic. A warm wall color can create a more intimate atmosphere. A cool color can create a sense of calm. But the wrong wall color can compete with the artwork. Imagine a painting filled with intense reds, oranges, and yellows. Now place it on a bright red wall. The wall and the painting are fighting for attention. The viewer may not know where the artwork ends and the environment begins. The wall has become another visual element. And sometimes that is exactly what you want. But usually, the wall should support the artwork rather than compete with it. This becomes especially important with colorful paintings. If the artwork already contains many colors, a quieter wall may allow the painting to breathe. If the painting is mostly black and white, a carefully chosen wall color may create a completely different atmosphere. The wall can also influence our perception of size. A small painting on a large empty wall may appear even smaller, but it may also appear more important because it has so much space around it. A large painting on a dark wall can feel enormous. The surrounding darkness can visually extend the artwork beyond its frame. This is why exhibition design is not simply decoration. It is part of visual storytelling. The same principle applies to frames. A frame is physically attached to the artwork, but visually it creates a boundary between the painting and the room. A heavy traditional frame can make a painting feel formal. A simple frame can make it feel contemporary. No frame can create a completely different experience. Of course, the appropriate frame depends on the artwork. A frame should not simply be chosen because it is beautiful by itself. The question is, does this frame help the painting? Sometimes a beautiful frame can actually weaken a beautiful painting. The frame becomes the first thing the viewer notices. Instead of seeing the artwork, the viewer sees the decoration around it. This is particularly common when the frame is extremely ornate. The frame may be competing with the painting for attention. On the other hand, the right frame can quietly strengthen the artwork. You may barely notice it, and that can be a sign that it is doing its job. The same applies to lighting. A gallery can have beautiful paintings and still provide a poor experience if the lighting is wrong. Too much light can flatten a painting. Too little light can hide important details. Strong reflections can make a painting difficult to see. An uneven lighting can make one artwork appear more important simply because it is brighter. Lighting can also change the emotional atmosphere. A softly lit portrait can feel intimate. A brightly lit, colorful painting can feel energetic. A dramatic spotlight can create a sense of importance. But lighting should be used carefully. The purpose isn't to make everything dramatic. The purpose is to help the viewer see. And there is another element that can completely change the atmosphere of a gallery. Sound. Sometimes an exhibition includes music. Perhaps classical music. Perhaps jazz. Perhaps ambient music. Perhaps live musicians. Music can be wonderful, but it can also compete with the artwork. If the music is too loud, people may begin paying attention to the music instead of the paintings. If the exhibition includes a live band, the placement becomes particularly important. The musicians should have their own space. The sound should not overwhelm quiet areas of the exhibition, and visitors should still be able to have conversations. This connects to something we discussed earlier. An exhibition is an experience, and every element contributes to that experience. The paintings, the walls, the lighting, the frames, the furniture, the music, the space between the works, even the floor. All of these things communicate something. Now think about furniture. Suppose you are exhibiting large figurative paintings. You place beautiful antique chairs in front of them. It may look elegant, but what happens if the chairs block the viewer's path, or create a visual distraction, or encourage people to sit directly in front of one painting? The furniture has now changed the exhibition. This doesn't mean furniture shouldn't be used. It means that everything needs a purpose. The same is true of flowers and decorations. A vase of flowers may make an exhibition feel welcoming, but if the flowers are brighter than the paintings, something has gone wrong. A decorative element should support the atmosphere. It should not become the star. And this brings us back to one of the most important principles in displaying art. Ask yourself what the viewer should experience. If the goal is contemplation, create calm. If the goal is excitement, create energy. If the goal is intimacy, create closeness. If the goal is a dramatic presentation, create contrast. The environment should support the purpose. There is no universal perfect gallery. A nude exhibition may require a different atmosphere from a children's art exhibition. A historical painting exhibition may require a different environment from a contemporary abstract exhibition. A photography exhibition may require different lighting from an exhibition of oil paintings. The display should respond to the artwork. This is why copying another gallery's design doesn't always work. What looks beautiful somewhere else may be completely wrong for your exhibition. Your artwork has its own personality. The space should listen to it. So the next time you walk into a gallery, don't look only at the paintings. Look around them. Look at the walls. Look at the light. Look at the frames. Look at the furniture. Listen to the sound. Notice how far you are standing from the artwork. Ask yourself, what is helping me see? What is distracting me? What is creating the mood? And what is competing with the art? Because the gallery wall is not simply the place where the painting hangs. It is part of the composition. The light is part of the experience. The frame is part of the presentation. And the space around the artwork is part of the story. A great exhibition makes all of these elements work together so naturally that the viewer may not even notice them. They simply feel good looking at the art. And that is the goal. The best display doesn't shout, "Look at how beautifully this gallery is designed." It quietly says, "Look at the art. This is the gallery experience."
Gallery experience. How to